Welcome to the latest installment of the 30-Minute Workout Series. My name is Jeff Bartles. I'm joined today by my colleagues Angel Espinosa, Fernando Lima, and Stacy Morikin. In today's session, we're going to be picking up where we left off in the last session. If you remember, we're working on a four-part series here where we're using these sessions to help you get up to speed using BIM Collaborate Pro to host your Civil 3D projects in the cloud. In the last session, we looked at how we could access the cloud platform. We looked at how to create a project, build a directory structure, and upload and view files. In this session, we're looking at how we can invite collaborators to our project and control their access. Through these sessions, we are going to be taking a step-by-step approach to things. We're going to be doing 100% live demo, so no screenshots, no bullet points, no PowerPoint. And along the way, we're going to be focusing on the how and why we do things. We'll also be including practical examples so you can see how you can take advantage of the cloud platform. During these sessions, we do have some ground rules. Some of the examples that we show may be abstract in nature, and we do that on purpose. This way we can focus solely on how a tool works. Once you understand how the tool works, you can apply it in whatever situation works best for you. We value your time, so we are committed to starting and ending on time. You don't have to worry about taking notes. These sessions are recorded. Anybody who is registered for the session will get access to the recordings. Once again, if you have questions, please place those in the Q&A pane. It's the most efficient way for our folks behind the scenes to find and answer those questions. If we don't get to all the questions by the end of the session, so long as we have your permission, we will get back to you with an answer. We have a lot of things to talk about today. We're going to look at how we can invite members to our project. We'll look at how we can control member permissions, and we can manage our members from both the project level and the account level. We'll look at how we can assign permissions to folders, allowing members to see various things within our project. We'll also go through a collaborative practical example where I'll be creating some red line markups and some issues. I'll assign work to somebody and let them make some adjustments to the work, and then we'll review and sign off on those changes. At the end, I will share some additional resources if you'd like to review some more content between now and our next session. As always, this is going to be a PowerPoint-free zone. We'll be working live in the application for the duration of our time together today. Okay, let me drop out of this. If you look at my screen, you can see that I am in Autodesk's cloud platform. I went through my web browser to acc.autodesk.com. Here I'm on the welcome screen, and we can see a list of the projects that I'm invited to. I'm going to select the project we were working on last time, Wesley Road Extension. When I choose that project, it takes me right into the Docs module. Remember, Docs is the file store for the project. I can see the directory structure here. If I select a directory, I can see the contents of that directory over to the side. If you remember the last time we were together, this Plan Sheets folder represents PDFs. They represent the most current set of plans for my project. So now that I have this project, I would like to invite members to collaborate with. Inviting members is a project level item. So I'm going to come up to the product picker, and then I'll come down and choose Project Admin. When we go to Project Admin, we can see it includes a members area. We were actually here last time we got together. Here we can see a list of the members that are in my project. Right now, it's just me. If I'd like to add members to this project, I will click the Add Members button, and then I can fill out the Add Project Members dialog box. I would like to add a couple of my colleagues, Stacy Morikin and Angel Espinosa, to this project. To do that, I'll click in this box, and from here, I can type their email addresses, or I can copy and paste their email addresses. I think I can paste as many as 200 addresses if I wanted to. I'm going to start typing Stacy's email, and when I do, you can see that she's recognized. That's because she's a member of one of my other projects, which is kind of nice. As you add people to one project, they will become an option that you can select from in future projects. I'm going to start typing Angel's email address as well. And you can see he's also recognized. I'll select him, and then I'll click outside this box to close. Now I can assign a company and a role for these folks. We talked about company last time. When I opened the company dialog box, you can see I've got some companies to choose from. These are companies that have been used on other projects. And notice there's an option here to assign from account admin. We can actually preload companies and roles on people at the account level, and we'll look at that in just a second. For right now, I'm going to give them both the Autodesk company, and then we can select a role. When I open this up, if you remember, when we created this project last time, when I went to the roles, I didn't see any roles in the list. And it was a good time. I probably should have mentioned that when we're working in the cloud, we need to be a little bit patient because the cloud isn't always as fast as our local server. A couple of minutes after I made that project, the roles appeared. You can see that they're in the project now. I'm going to select a role for them from the list here. I will choose engineer. The benefit of using roles in companies is this allows us to globally assign permissions to various areas of our project. For instance, if I assign permissions to the Autodesk company, anybody who's a member of Autodesk will have those permissions. If I assign permissions to the engineer, anybody that has that role will have access to those permissions. And we'll look at that here in a little bit. Next, I can come down and assign their access. They can be a project member, or notice this is how I can create additional project administrators if I want to. I'm going to keep them as members. Let's drag this down. Finally, I will choose to invite them to any products I want them to use. By default, they have access to Docs and Insight. I'm also going to invite them to design collaboration and model coordination. When I'm finished, I'll come down and choose Add. When you add people to the project, it can take up to a minute for them to appear. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to add somebody else to this project. I'm going to add somebody named Morty Hackett. I will start typing his email address in, and when I do, you can see he's recognized. He's been a member of one of my other projects. I will then choose a company for Morty. I'll choose Hackett Design, and for role, we will make him an engineer as well. He'll be a project member, and same as with Angel and Stacy, I'm going to invite him to the design collaboration and model coordination modules, and I'll click Add. As people are added to a project, we will see them show up in this list. Each person will include their information and properties here to the right. If I come down to the far right and click the ellipsis button, this is how I can remove somebody from a project. I can remove people at any point if I want to. If I select a person, I can adjust their properties using this pane on the right. So for Angel, I can adjust his company. I could choose a different role. I could also change his access, or I could add and remove products. Let's close this. So very easy to add people to a project. I want to mention that as we add people to projects, they are also added to your overall account members list, and they can be managed from there as well. Let's take a look at that. If you'll indulge me, I want to do a quick field trip. From the product picker, I'm going to come down and choose Account Admin. Remember, I'm the admin for this account. In the Account Admin area, notice that there is a Members option. If I choose Members here, I am seeing a comprehensive list of all of the people that are associated with my account. These are people that have been invited to my projects. They're also people maybe from my company that are associated with the account. If you're just getting into this solution, if you're the account admin and this is the first time you go to the Members area, you may just see yourself in this list. From here, I could click Add Members. And at this point, I could copy and paste the email addresses of all the people from my company that I would like to register with the account. From here, I can assign a default company to them. I can assign a default role as well. If you remember, when I added Angel and Stacy, it asked me if I wanted to assign from account admin. This is where you can preload those settings for company and role. You can always change them at the project level, but this is where we can assign defaults. One more thing, I'm going to come down and show you that this is where we can create additional account administrators as well. But right now, I'm going to close this up. At the account level, if I come down to this far right ellipsis button and click, this is how I can remove somebody from an account. This removes them from every project, okay? Because I'm removing them from the account level. If I select somebody at the account level, over here, I can adjust their default properties. I could adjust Angel's default company. I could adjust his default role and access. And let's talk for a second about subscription. The Autodesk Construction Cloud represents a bring your own subscription model. Remember, I invited Angel to BIM Collaborate Pro, those two modules that are included with that. I can see right here that Angel has his own subscription for that. So he can bring his own subscription and use it. Having said that, I'm going to come down to Morty Hackett. If we look at Morty Hackett, you can see that he's currently working through a trial of the Autodesk Cloud platform. If I want to, since I've invited him to collaborate using the model coordination and the design collaboration, I could give him one of my licenses. Okay, so in the event somebody doesn't have a license, you can provide them a license. Let me close this. Since we're on the field trip here, let me also mention that at the account level, there is a companies area. From here, I can create companies. I can develop that company list that I can choose from when I add people to projects. Here's where I can access the roles that I can assign to folks. Now, when you look at the roles, you may tell yourself, superintendent, I don't know if I'll ever use that person. If I click the ellipsis button, I can remove roles from here. I can also add new roles, so you can customize those. Okay, I would like to return to my project. I'll do that by opening the menu here at the top of the screen, and you can see that I'm currently looking at all the accounts that I have access to. I'm going to choose projects, and historically, at least in the last session, I would come down and choose View All Projects to take me back to that welcome screen. Rather than doing that, I'm going to use the shortcut here at the top. I'll type Wesley Road Extension. There we go. We'll choose that. This will take me right to the project, and it takes me right back where we left off at the members area. From here, I'm going to open the product picker and we'll flip over to docs. Now, when you invite people to a project, they will get an email that lets them know that they're now a member of the project. There's no magic to the email. The email is just a notification. If somebody was to go to the Construction Cloud, they will see that they have access to that project. I also mentioned that to let you know that inviting somebody to a project is actually a two-step process. First, you invite them to the project, and then you have to assign permissions to the folders. Sometimes I forget that second step. If you don't give them permissions to folders, they'll go to the project and they won't be able to see anything. So what we're going to do next is assign folder permissions. I'm going to deal with the project files folder here first. To assign permissions to folders, I can click this ellipsis button, or I can right-click to bring up the menu, and from here I'll choose permission settings. And we can see that when it comes to the project files folder, right now it has one user. You can see me down below. That's me. I've got administrative permissions because I'm the project admin. At this time, there are no companies or roles assigned to this folder. I would like to add Stacy and Angel to this folder. So I'll do that by clicking add. And then rather than typing in their email accounts, I am going to add them at the company level. I'm going to type Autodesk. And as I type in that text string, you can see how it's found here within project members. It'll find it within companies. It would also find it within roles that existed there. I'm going to choose the Autodesk company, and I'm going to give the Autodesk company permissions to this folder. I'll do that by opening the menu, and you can see that the folders are very graphical, very intuitive to assign rights. In fact, you can see exactly what people will be able to do with each of these options. For the sake of this example, I'm going to assign the Autodesk company view permission to this folder, and I'll click add. When I do, you can see that Autodesk has now been added to this folder, which is nice. If I expand this out, we can see Angel and Stacy have been added because they are members of Autodesk. If I was to add another person to this project and they were a member of Autodesk, they would automatically get access to this folder as well. That's the benefit of using companies and roles. It allows us to bulk assign permissions to people when they're added to a project. Let's address this. What if there is a conflict in permissions? You can see that I am also a member of Autodesk. Therefore, I should have view-only permissions, but I'm also a project admin. If you have conflicting permissions, the least restrictive permission wins. So even though I'm a member of Autodesk with view only, I'm a dedicated person to this folder with management rights, so that's going to trump the lower level permissions. If we assign permissions to a folder, for instance, project files, those permissions will propagate down to the subfolders. As an example, if I choose documents, you'll see that Autodesk has view access to the documents folder as well. It's inherited from the parent. Any of these subfolders will see that Autodesk is inherited. Now, having said that, I can change the permissions at a lower level. If I open the permissions here, I'm going to flip this to edit, for example. We can only increase permissions as we go down. We cannot decrease permissions. So the rule of thumb is that you assign the most restrictive permissions at the highest level, and then you increase them as you go down through the directories. So right now, Autodesk has edit rights to documents. If I flip to photos, you can see that's obviously still inherited. In this case, I would like Autodesk employees to have edit access to all of my folders. So to do that, I'm going to come back to project files, and I am going to change their rights to edit. And then once I do that, if we go to documents now, you can see that that's now become inherited. It's inherited from the parent. I would like to add one more set of permissions. I'd like to add some permissions for Morty Hackett. I'll do that on the Plan Sheets folder. I'll choose Plan Sheets, and then from here, I'll click Add. And then I could add Morty by company or role. I'm just going to add him as an individual email address just to show a little bit of difference. I'm going to type M. Hackett, and I will select Morty. And then I will give him edit permissions to this folder, and I'll click Add. Okay, so very easy to not only add people to a project, but also assign permissions to the various folders. Just for a second, let's take a look at things from Morty's perspective. I'm going to drop my web browser down to a window here, and I'm going to open up another web browser. And in this web browser, we'll go to acc.autodesk.com, and I am going to log into the system as Morty. And I'll type in his super secret password. I do this to show you that when Morty logs in, here you can see there's the new project that he was invited to. I will select that project. And in this project, I want to show you how much of the directory structure Morty can see. People can only see the folders for which you have given them permission. As opposed to myself and the Autodesk employees, we would have permission to see all the folders. Morty is only seeing plan sheets because that's the only one he has rights to. Okay, let's go back to my view. Now that we understand that, let's engage in a little bit of collaborative workflow. Maybe I would like to mark up one of these plan sheets and I would like to assign the work to Morty to have him complete it. Here in the plan sheets folder, I'm going to come down and click and open this detail sheet. When the sheet opens up, I can pan and zoom much like we can within the Civil 3D environment. I'll just roll the wheel back and forth to zoom in and out. I'll hold the wheel down to pan. In the event I see something that requires a change, for instance, this note, we have a full collection of markup tools over here on the right side of the screen. I'm going to create a cloud. I'll click the cloud button and then I'll click, hold, and drag this cloud around the text. When I'm finished, notice that we have grips. Creating these markups is a very intuitive thing. You don't have to be a guru in CAD in order to create these. Very easy. Also notice that when we create markups, we can adjust their color here. Maybe we'll make that green. I could also put a transparent fill on there if I wanted to. Let me click off of this. When we create markups, those markups can be saved in two ways, published or unpublished. A published markup is viewable by anybody that views this file. An unpublished markup is only viewable by the creator. So you can use the feature to create notes to yourself if you wanted to. If I click to select this markup, from right here, I could publish this so it could be seen by others. Before I do that, just take a look at some of the other options that are available in this menu. I'm going to choose Publish for right now, and then I'll click on Screen. I'd like to create one more markup. I wish we had time to go through all of these. They're really intuitive. I'll let you click and explore these on your own. I would like to create a call out next, and notice that when you set a color, that color becomes the default for future markups. I'm going to set this back to red, and then I will click the call out. I'll click here, and I'll pull this out. And I'll release, and then since this one has text, I can fill the text out over on the right. I'll say, make this 10 feet. Notice I can adjust the text color, font size, border color, border thickness. I can also apply the fill here if I want to. So ton of options to control the display of these. I am just going to use these grips to drag this out a little bit. And when I'm finished, I'll choose Publish, and then I'll click on Screen. When we create markups, those markups are saved with this file. If I come over to the far left side of the screen, there is a markups pane. If I open this up, the markups are stored as metadata with this file. You can see all the names, all the dates, all of the various markups people created. This is saved in perpetuity as part of the history of your project. You can hide the display of markups using this hide button. Let me turn those back on. Over time, as you create additional versions of this file, for instance, you'll have more markups. The markups will propagate through to the new versions. There is a filter option here that you can use to control their display. I can say, show me just published markups or unpublished. Show me the markups that were created by a specific person or within a specific date range or of a specific type or have specific references. I can also filter markups based on color. That's why I made this one green. Notice I can click here and say, just show me the markups that are green. Okay, so as the markups accumulate over time, this is how you can control their display. Let's clear the filter and I will close this. Now, markups are a passive thing. They require somebody to actually view the file in order to see the markup and make the change. Using Autodesk's Construction Cloud, I can actually assign work to people and I can track that work to completion. The feature there is called an issue. If I come over to this tool panel, I can choose the issue button. And when I select the issue, I can then select my issue type. You can see that there are several here within the list. I'm going to choose work to complete for this example. And then I will click to place the issue in the file. The issue is a lot like a push pin. So I place the issue where the work needs to be done, and then I can fill out this issue card over to the right. For this example, I'll type add detail. I can then change the issue status. I can change the type. This is kind of a second chance if I want to change the type of issue. I can give this a description. I'll say add sediment trap detail to this sheet. I can assign the work to somebody. If I open this up, you can see the people that are associated with my project. I can also assign it to a role or a company. I'm going to assign this work to Morty. Notice that we can choose watchers. Do I want anybody else associated with my project to watch the interaction between Morty and I as we get this particular work finished? Let me drag this down a little bit further. We have a bunch more options: location, location details, due date, start date, placement, root cause. You can fill out as much or as little of this information as you like. One of the recommendations I make is location details. If you look in the upper left corner, we can see the current version of the sheet, which is V1. I like to log that as a location detail. I'm going to type V1. This way, in case this file gets versioned up or there are additional saves before Morty gets a chance to work on it, he'll know that V1 was the version that was current when these items were created. He'll be able to see the sheet in its original state. I'm going to put a due date on this. We'll say Morty's got to have this done tomorrow. And that'll be enough for right now. Let's close this up. When I complete that issue card, an email is fired off to Morty to let him know that that work needs to be accomplished. I'm going to close this file. Let me show you one more thing. When we're working in the Construction Cloud, every project includes a dedicated issues area. If I go to issues, we can see a list of all the issues. Now, currently, we just have the one that I assigned to Morty, but over time, this list will grow. This shows us a list of all the work that has been done and needs to be done. As the list grows, we can search for issues using a text string right here in the search box. If I open up the filter, I can search for issues by any of the items that were in that issue card. I could search for issues that are assigned to Morty. I can search for issues of a particular type or status or due date. Let's close this. Okay, let's look at things from Morty's perspective. I'm going to drag this over and we'll click back on Morty's screen. If you remember, when I created that issue, Morty was sent an email letting him know that the work needed to be done. Now, in the interest of time, we won't go and look at Morty's email. Just know that he did get an email for that. In the email, it will include a hyperlink that will take him to the project, and it will take him to the issues area, and it will highlight the issue in question, just like we see on screen. Now, Morty doesn't have to use the email. He can actually navigate here and look for any work that he's got to do, just like I'm doing here manually. That's also possible. But when we select this issue, he can then see the issue information over here to the right. We can see that version 1 of the file was current at the time the issue was created. Notice that the issue card also includes a hyperlink that will take you right to the file. If I click, this will take me to the PDF. And then I'll look up in the corner and see, okay, that's V1. So that's perfect. This is the state of the file as it was when it was marked up. He can then kind of look around and see, okay, we've got to change a note there, and I've got an issue that's been added. I need to add a sediment trap detail to the sheet. Let's assume that Morty did that. He opened the CAD file, he added the appropriate details, saved it, printed a new PDF, and uploaded that PDF to the cloud platform. Okay, we'll assume that work was done. When he does that, he'll come back and update this issue card. He can add a comment. I've made all revisions and uploaded a new PDF version. He'll click submit. So we can keep a running commentary between the people associated with this issue. He would then drag this up and change the issue status. I'm going to flip it to pending for this example. Notice he can't close it. He doesn't have the rights to close it because he didn't make it. So he can flip that to pending, and then we can close this up, and then we can close up this file. Now, remember, we said that Morty did that work. Let's not make Morty a liar. I'm going to go to my Windows Explorer, and I'm going to grab the updated PDF, and I will drag and drop that into the environment here so we can upload the updated version. Okay, when Morty changed the status of that issue, an email was then sent to me to let me know that the status had changed. So I am going to flip back to my screen. Let's drag this open. Once again, I'll receive an email. The email will include a hyperlink. And if I click the hyperlink, it will take me right to the issues area. Now, this is actually out of date at this point. I'm going to hit F5 to refresh my screen. And you can see that that issue status has changed to pending. All right. Same as before, I don't really have to use that hyperlink to get here. I could just come and check on the status of my issues. If I select this issue, I can come over to the right and I can take a look at this. Once again, V1 was current when this was created. There's my hyperlink that will take me right to the PDF file. I am going to click on that. And when I go to the PDF, if we look in the upper left corner, we can see now this is V2. This is the new version of this sheet. If I want to flip to the prior version, I will open up this menu and choose the other version. Before I do that, I just want to address this note right here. It says previous markups calibration are still updating. Check back later. Remember, I mentioned that when we create markups and issues, they will propagate forward to the newer versions. What this is telling us is, hey, this is kind of going pretty quick here. We haven't had an opportunity to propagate those markups in the issue forward just yet. One of those things have to be a little bit patient. We're doing this a little faster than real time, I would say. So that's what that message is. Let's flip this to V1. So now I can see the file as it was when I marked it up for Morty. And I can look at this and say, okay, yep, I had him change that to 10. If we go to the issue here, I told him to add a sediment trap detail to this sheet. I can then drag down and I can review the comments. Morty said he made the revisions and uploaded a new PDF. Fantastic. What I'll do is I'll come up to the top of the screen and I'll click this compare button. This allows me to compare any one version of my file to another version. I'm going to compare the old version to the new version. I'll click compare. And the way the comparison works is a lot like a light table. It lays one version on top of the other. Anything that's unique to the old version is red. Anything that's unique to the new version is blue. And so it's very easy to see that Morty added this detail. Let me zoom in. In the event, some of the changes are more granular, like this text. I can change the view from overlay to side by side. And you can see I've got a slider here at the middle of the screen. The old version's on the left, the new version's on the right. If I drag this slider back and forth, it allows me to review more granular changes like that text. At this point, Morty did exactly what I asked him to do. So what I'm going to do is come down and choose Exit Comparison. When I exit, I can then go back to the issue and I can change the status. I'm going to open this up, and in this case, I can choose Closed because it was done as I intended. Note that I can also reopen this, and I can go down and add additional comments if I want to keep this issue open and keep going back and forth until this is finished to my satisfaction. It's kind of like a ball and court thing. This eliminates work items from falling through the cracks. I'm going to go ahead and close this for now. Let me close this, and I will close this sheet. All right, dangerously close to the bottom of the hour. I'm going to jump back to my PowerPoint. Today, we looked at a lot of things. We saw how we could add members to a project. We saw how we could manage those members at both the project level and the account level. We saw how we could assign permissions to folders to allow people to have access to the various items in our project. And today we looked at a practical example of how we could assign work to somebody using a markup in an issue. We saw how that work could be completed. We could then review it and sign off on it. In our next session, which is just next Thursday, we're going to be looking at how we can synchronize our Civil 3D environment with the cloud. We'll be looking at a tool called Desktop Connector that allows that. Using Desktop Connector, I could be working in DWG files. I get automatic file locking and unlocking, automatic versioning. We'll look at how we can create new drawings. I'll give you another practical example, and we'll share some more additional resources. As far as the additional resources for today's session, I'm going to point you back to the learnacc.autodesk.com site. Phenomenal source for high-quality videos that will walk through a lot of the major features and functionality of the cloud platform. Great resource to review until we get together again. In the event there are additional questions that have gone unanswered at this point, so long as we have your permission, we will get back to you with an answer. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate your time. We hope you find value in the sessions. Thank you again. We really appreciate it.